The province unveils its long-awaited plan to build more housing.
We want to return the dream of home ownership to the next generation of Ontarians.
Reducing developer fees and allowing more units on one residential lot are among the measures the province is bringing in to tackle the housing crisis, as it promises to build 1.5 million homes in 10 years. And
what I've heard a lot is people are ready for the next generation to take up the torch.
We'll introduce you to some of the new faces on Toronto City Council, 7 in total, diversifying a council that's looked the same for a long time. Plus,
we just want to continue that legacy. We don't want to be stuck in the negativity of what is.
family and friends of Ike Kaja celebrate him on what would have been his 50th birthday while pleading for answers. The Toronto father shot and killed in January, his killer still on the loose. Good evening, I'm Kelda Yoon. The Ontario government unveiling its long-awaited plan to address the housing crisis today as MPPs return to Queen's Park after a 6-week break during the municipal election campaign. Now, the new legislation aims to cut red tape and development fees, making it easier to build new homes. And as Lorenda Redicott reports, the Ford government is promising to build a lot of them in the next decade.
Among the developer fees being cut by the province today, affordable and non-profit developments and inclusionary zoning projects, meaning new developments that include affordable units. Fees for rental construction are being reduced by 25%. The housing minister introduced the bill this afternoon.
To be the next phase in our bold and transformative plan to get 1.5 million homes built in the next 10 years.
One change already in place in Toronto, 3 units will be allowed on a lot in residential areas. No extra approvals needed. A provincial task force recommended more units be allowed.
We want to make the opportunity in this transformational bill to do the 3 units province-wide. We're, again, very hopeful based on our conversations that there will be significant units created because of that.
Those would also be exempt from development fees. So what will it mean for the coffers of municipalities?
Well, we want to obviously work with municipalities. We know, based on our financial information returns, that there's about $8 billion that are in DC reserves across the province.
DC is development charges. The vast majority of new housing will be in 29 different municipalities, almost all in the Greater Toronto and Golden Horseshoe, in areas with the fastest expected growth. The City of Toronto's housing target will be 285,000, followed by Ottawa, Mississauga, and Brampton, all above 100,000 new homes by 2031. Next are Hamilton and London, each with 47,000 more homes. And if cities don't build that many homes?
We're hoping that they will. We're hoping that we'll work collaboratively with those largest communities that we've initiated a housing pledge, that there will be that collaboration.
The opposition says it does look like the bill will result in more homes being built, but it has concerns.
It does look like the government will make it easier for developers to tear down more affordable housing, replace it with luxury condos, evict tenants, and move forward with gentrification.
Earlier, Premier Doug Ford spoke at a housing event hosted by the Toronto Region Board of Trade.
Everyone's dream is to have a little white picket fence. You know, when they put the key in the door, they know they're building equity into it. They can do the little tweaks to their house and increase the value of it. That's our goal. We won't let the ideology and politics stand in the way of doing what's right for all Ontarians.
Also included in this legislation, not allowing appeals at the Ontario Land Tribunal by third parties. That would include area residents and also conservation authorities. Lorenda Redicott, CBC News, Toronto.
A Brampton mayoral candidate who lost to Patrick Brown in yesterday's municipal election says she's been fired from her job with the city of Brampton. Now, in a statement, Nikki Kaur says, "I ran a strong campaign for mayor of Brampton to restore integrity and honesty at City Hall." Last night, I finished second to Patrick Brown in the election. This afternoon, without explanation or notice, I was terminated from my employment at the city of Brampton. Cora says she will not be silenced and has hired a lawyer. During the campaign, Cora alleged financial irregularities under Brown's leadership. And we asked the city to comment on Cora's assertion that she was fired, but a spokesperson declined. There are some new faces on Toronto City Council. 7 new councillors were elected yesterday, the majority of them visible minorities, diversifying a council that's looked the same for a long time. And as Ali Chiasson reports, they say they're ready to shake things up.
It's still surreal. I still haven't soaked it in.
Amber Morley from Etobicoke Lakeshore is one of 7 new faces coming to City Hall, and she's ready to get started.
We're the largest and fastest growing ward by population. Every neighborhood is experiencing, density and growth. And so what we really need to make sure we're doing is being proactive and engaged on these files.
Councillor Mark Grimes.
Morley defeated longtime councillor Mark Grimes, who Mayor Tory endorses every election, but that didn't work this time.
What I've heard a lot is people are ready for the next generation to take up the torch.
The newly elected councillors all have unique experiences and have had unique paths to get here.
I am so humbled and to be given this privilege to represent our fantastic community of Scarborough North. We had a very positive and forward-thinking vision on where we want to take the community, and people were excited.
Scarborough's Jamal Myers had a bittersweet journey to becoming councillor after incumbent Cynthia Lai passed away a few days before the election.
We're still in mourning. We lost our councillor. It's very sad, it's bittersweet, but I know Councillor Lai would want us to come together for the betterment of the community.
Council chambers has looked the same for a long time.
City Hall should reflect the city itself.
Chris Moyes won Toronto Centre, a huge ward he wants to make more livable.
We do have a housing crisis, and we need to acknowledge that and look at it, in a way that we can actually, deal with it in a holistic and realistic way.
Last night, seeing the results come in right across the city, what I saw was so many of us hungry for change, wanting to see better representation of our experiences to make sure that we have renewal at City Council so that we can make better, more effective and more courageous decisions.
Ozma Malik made history with her win, and it means a lot to so many. You can see it.
Especially at a time where voter turnout was so low. I didn't want to trump the interview, but it's honestly, she made my entire family proud.
I think that is a moment for optimism and at least a little bit of, excitement about what might be possible with new faces on the council table.
The other new faces are Diane Sachs for University Rosedale, Alejandra Bravo in Davenport, and Lily Cheng for Willowdale. They're all new and all eager to make a great city even better. Ali Chiasson, CBC News, Toronto.
Meanwhile, John Tory easily won a 3rd term as Toronto's mayor with 60% of the vote. But the 4 years ahead for Tory will be challenging, with a $1 billion budget deficit and an affordable housing crisis in the city. Our municipal affairs reporter Sean Jeffords has more on what's in store for the mayor's 3rd term.
The mayor has signaled that he's going to get right to work on his priorities. Tory says he'll be making an announcement about building more affordable housing this week. So it looks like he wants to hit the ground running on that file, which emerged as a top election issue. The mayor will also have to present a balanced budget to council early in the new year. The catch is the city has an $850 million budget deficit that he'll have to figure out how to fill. But the mayor promised last night that it won't be done by hiking taxes above the rate of inflation.
Whether it be the city government or your own household, we will have to face economic and financial challenges in the coming months. The city itself is looking at more than a $1 billion. Since I will not be imposing big tax increases on people already in the midst of an affordability crisis, it's just not the right thing to do.
The mayor has said that this will be his last term in Toronto's top job. I expect he'll use the next 4 years to outline his legacy to voters, which will include cutting some ribbons on a couple of big transit projects like the Eglinton Crosstown, the Finch West LRT, and of course he's going to try to keep property taxes, that is, pretty low. If Tory serves the full term, he'll become the city's longest-serving mayor, edging out Art Eggleton, who served for 11 years.
And that was Municipal Affairs reporter Sean Jeffords. Now, early numbers show province-wide voter turnout was only 36% in yesterday's election. And that number gets even worse when you look at races in the GTA. Both Mississauga and Brampton saw fewer than 25% of eligible voters hit the polls. And here in Toronto, it was under 30%. Hamilton saw one of the larger turnouts in the Greater Toronto Hamilton area with just over 36%. Let's go to Colette Kennedy now with a first look at your forecast. And Colette, a bit cloudier today than the last few days, but temperatures still pretty warm.
Yeah, still definitely above seasonal, but you hit the nail on the head with the extra cloud cover. There were a few spots, including Toronto, where the temperature was just calmed down a little bit. You can kind of see that with the daytime highs. And even if you look at the colors here, the contours on the map for the temperature, so that little bit of green with a breeze off the lake at times, and this morning some of that fog and mist. So 17 for the high, but Hamilton up to 21, Windsor 23, 20 for Oshawa. So just some beautiful conditions, definitely above seasonal. There's a reset coming, though, as a cold front approaches us. We are going to be seeing the cloud cover coming back again tomorrow through the morning hours. There may be some sunny breaks in there, but then showers developing possibly overnight, but mostly tomorrow morning in southwestern Ontario by afternoon, making their way through the GTA. A few bands could be a little bit heavier at times, and then it kind of works its way through in the evening into eastern Ontario. Behind that, temperatures fall. So for tonight, one more mild night, 12 degrees for that overnight low, and then tomorrow still mild until that front passes, 16 for that high.
Thanks so much, Colette. The federal government is investing nearly $1 billion in the country's first small modular reactor at the Darlington nuclear power plant. In fact, it would be one of the first of its kind anywhere in the world. But some environmentalists are questioning why the government is investing in nuclear energy instead of more environmentally friendly forms. Greg Ross has more.
It's a new class of nuclear reactor with a much smaller footprint, and Ontario Power Generation says they can produce them quickly.
We think the technology has advantages in how it can be constructed that allows for more of it to be built in a factory.
Thanks to a $970 million commitment from the Canada Infrastructure Bank, work on Canada's first SMR is set to begin at the Darlington nuclear power plant.
We think that we can have our first reactor operational by late 28.
OPG says once complete, the new reactor would avoid approximately 740,000 tons of greenhouse gas emissions per year.
This is a backwards 1950s solution that does not make sense for Ontario in 2022.
Not everyone agrees that this is an environmentally friendly energy solution. Jack Gibbons is the chair of the Ontario Clean Air Alliance. He says SMRs are an unproven source of energy and will do more harm than good.
Nuclear power is not environmentally friendly. It produces highly radioactive waste, which will last for hundreds of thousands of years, and we don't have a solution. We don't know what to do with those nuclear wastes.
He also questions why the government would invest in nuclear energy as opposed to renewable forms.
Wind power, solar energy, Quebec water power can all keep our lights on at less than half the cost of building a new nuclear reactor.
Ontario Power Generation says the SMRs can provide zero-carbon baseload power across all regions and will help decarbonize the electricity sector. Greg Ross, CBC News, Toronto.
Friends and family of a man who was killed earlier this year gathered to honor him tonight on what would have been his 50th birthday. Ike Kaja was fatally shot in January in Midtown Toronto. Calling themselves Friends of Ike, the group tonight also celebrating a scholarship in his name while pleading for answers in his still unsolved case. Tyler Cheese was there.
And I miss his energy and I miss his big smile.
Tonight, a group of Ike Kaja's friends and family have come together to celebrate his birthday.
Instead of having a party with balloons and cake with him, he's in a grave.
Kaja, originally from Nigeria, was fatally shot outside his Forest Hill home in January. He died in hospital 3 days later, leaving behind a 4-year-old son and friends who remember him as a bright light.
He was one of those people whose eyes, his smile, he had these big pearly whites. He was smart, he was curious, he was worldly.
They've gathered at his favorite pub.
He was the first of 5 kids. He was the only boy. So he was lucky he was the first. Didn't stop us from ragging on him. He was always gracious, always kind, always wonderful. He's the kind of guy that would give you the shirt off his own back.
Weeks after his death, a scholarship was established in his name at the University of Toronto. Kaja, a financial analyst, graduated from the university's Rotman School of Management in 2008. Tonight, his friends are also celebrating $50,000 raised for the scholarship.
I was very passionate about the school. Always wanted to give back. So this was one way of ensuring that a student could, get a chance to get a quality education. And this way, his legacy lives on forever because there's always be a student that we'll help every year.
In the meantime, 9 months after Kaja's murder, those here tonight say they're still waiting for answers.
If you told me back when the story broke, when I found out that this was going to take this long and we would still have no answers, I would have said, no way, no way. It feels like eternity.
Police say Kaja's death is still being actively investigated, but they've made no arrests to date.
It's frustrating sometimes because clearly whoever did this is somewhere out there, still out there, but we're hopeful.
A GoFundMe campaign has been established to help his family pay for legal assistance. Tyler Cheese, CBC News, Toronto.
Welcome back. With the deadline a week from today, more GTA daycare providers are opting in for $10 a day childcare. Now, the surge in interest comes after the Ford government extended the deadline and made some changes to the policy. But as Trevor Dunn reports, some providers worry the plan isn't built to last.
Hey, everybody's gonna build.
Here at Kids Connect Daycare in Toronto, it's time to build.
Let's build a train station.
Putting the pieces together, figuring out what works and what doesn't.
Based on the skills that the children are developing.
For Executive Director Amanda Stanton, the federal government's affordable child care program has been a similar process of trial and error. The center only recently opted in after the Ford government changed the terms of the agreement, promising to cover more costs.
To be honest, that wasn't an easy decision for us. The first set of terms and agreements that weren't as favorable than I remember back in, I think, September at some time we received another communication that things like property taxes and other items would be, it'd be almost dollar for dollar, which is something that we said, okay, that works for us.
The late summer changes and a 2-month deadline extension appear to be bringing more providers on board. In Toronto, there are just over 1,000 licensed childcare centers, and so far 821 are opting into the program, while just 56 are opting out. In York Region, 446 providers are opting in, 31 are out, and in Peel, 134 are opting in, and just 7 are deciding not to.
Opting in makes it sound like it's our choice. Right now, at the stand, it's just simply not possible.
For the opt-outs, many are small, specialized centers, and they say there's too much administrative burden and not enough long-term certainty. Ontario has extended the term of its agreement, but only until 2023.
After that, we have no idea what the funding formula would look like, and no idea whether it would be even viable for our business to participate in the program.
She's doing a great job.
Even for the opt-ins, the deal is no fairy tale. Funding isn't pegged to inflation, so parent fees will be kept down while the cost of doing business is going up.
We know that inflation, we've seen things go up over 7%, and right now in the agreement they're only indexing at 2.75. So in order to remain viable, we really have to consider what that looks like for our organization as costs are going to continue to skyrocket.
For now, at least, participation in the program is up, and there's hope it's on track to more affordable childcare. Trevor Dunn, CBC News, Toronto.
And this is a live look at the Toronto skyline. Cloudy with a few clear breaks this evening. It will be mostly cloud cover overnight. Temperature is pretty mild tonight, currently 16 degrees in the city. Let's go back to Colette now with a more detailed look at your forecast. And Colette, things taking a turn tomorrow with some rain and cooler temperatures.
Yeah, so we're going to see some rainy conditions moving in, have had some dry conditions, still relatively mild, and then it cools down after that. It's that kind of teeter-totter we're seeing with the temperatures. So this deep trough in the jet stream, yeah, they had all that mild air through last week into the prairies, and then the big turnover on the weekend with cold temperatures and, of course, snow. You've probably seen some of the images from your family or from friends there. And we're still up on the milder side of things, but that will be kind of adjusting. So we're not going into that extreme cold, but we will be finding a reset to season. seasonal. So how it kind of works its way through along that front. Those showers, a few possible, kind of isolated overnight tonight. Winds are up towards Sarnia, even pushing over towards London, but likely it's more into tomorrow morning. You notice some of the wet conditions will really be coming in then. And then by midday, certainly increasing cloudiness again through the GTA and showers developing likely after the lunch hour towards Toronto. A few bands could be a little bit heavier or stronger at times, but mostly it's showers. I would still be prepared for getting wet. And then into the evening, we'll see clearing behind this system. It sets us up for sun into Thursday, but it also sets us up for a cool start on Thursday morning as those temperatures will have fallen. Tonight, they have not. A lot of these daytime highs or these overnight lows are really more indicative of what a daytime high should be. So you're looking at a very mild night again tonight through southwestern Ontario, over towards the Golden Horseshoe, St. Catharines at 14, still clearer conditions, and then some increasing cloudiness towards tomorrow morning. Lows 11 in Markham and Oshawa and Toronto, 12 degrees. And then here's where things go tomorrow. So that daytime high, 16. That's why it's still mild, although a cooler feel just because of the wetness of the air mass. And then it's Wednesday into Thursday morning. Notice that 3. Yeah, it's going to be a chillier start Thursday. 12 degrees that daytime high. This is not bad weather. This is still very good weather. It's just comparing it to some of those temperatures that were in the upper teens or even some low 20s that we've had. So there's that reset, and you'll see that as it goes through the weekend, but quite a few days there again after tomorrow where we'll have dry conditions pushing through.
Thanks so much, Colette. Finally tonight, a Toronto library has officially reopened its doors today after being closed for 4 years. The Witchwood branch near Bathurst and St. Clair hosted an open house to celebrate this long-awaited reopening.
We've had such a good reaction from our community. Everyone is so happy that we're back and we're open. We've heard comments from our customers, the library is so beautiful, we've missed you, we're glad that you're open again.
The library closed in 2018 to accommodate a $15 million reconstruction and expansion project. Now, one of its goals was to preserve the 106-year-old building, which is now declared a heritage property. The building has also doubled from its original size and added a long list of new features and services, including barrier-free access, new washrooms, age-zoned areas, and flexible spaces for collaboration. And that is our show for you tonight. Thank you so much for watching. Chris Glover has your next local newscast tomorrow at 6. I will see you back here tomorrow night at 11. Have a great night, everyone.